tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for being a part of another edition of The Struggle is Real and The Struggle Continues, a podcast presentation of St. Paul AME Church. Yours truly, Reverend Logan. Dr. Logan is the co-host along with Brother Eddie Baker, who's on early evening retirement, as 4 o'clock is no joke on every morning. And as one who does 5 o'clock along with our co-presenter today, it's no joke. So we're not going to be long. We thank you for allowing us to kind of pre-record some things as we prepare for Pan-Africa Day. So thank you so much for availing yourself to this opportunity to kind of share out of your experience and just a sense of what you glean and who you are from your parents' ancestry, your ancestry, and your kind of, I guess, binary or dual citizenship, so to speak. So let me just stop talking and thank you so much, Dr. Popo James, for just being a part of this presentation. Let me ask you, if you don't mind, as we look at Pan-Africa Day, it's a part of our celebration of our colors and culture at St. Paul. What do you find is significant with respect to that kind of a celebration? And then take us into how you have come to know who you are and why you have a sense of pride about that.
I mean, I think it's really important that we acknowledge that it's not just only, we're all together, but there's so many different cultures within our church. And, living in Georgia, sometimes you don't necessarily see it, but then you hear an accent, you're like, oh, where you're from. So it's it's interesting because I don't really have an accent except for New Jersey accent. So I get patients and I see, people at church, and I'll ask them, and then I'll tell my parents, where my parents are from. And so it's a way to link with other people because you have some shared background. But I'm also American. So, I grew up in New Jersey. And it was interesting that now people are more excited about their heritage or more. When I was younger, my parents really just wanted me to assimilate. So we weren't really taught. My father is from St. Lucia and he speaks Patois. From there, my mother's from Trinidad. They just speak English really. But my grandmother's from Dominica, and they never really taught us any other language. And the Patois is the same thing that is very similar to Creole. And so Haitians are always very proud and make sure that their kids know Creole, but they just wanted us to assimilate. So only thing I know is "Pa fe sa ti mai mai," which means "Don't do that, little child." "Garamwe," which means "Look at me." And
look me in my eye.
Yeah, right. And satikaka, which is something smells like poo-poo.
Oh,
so
boy.
That's
Okay.
That's it. I don't really know anything else. And my father utilized it to teach Haitians how to speak English. And so I was, my father pushes it now, but I had to find time to learn it now. It's so much easier when you're younger. So
Sure.
But when we were younger, there were so many people who were also Caribbean, and I didn't even know. Unless you went to their house and you heard their parents speak, you never knew. And it wasn't until different rappers came out that, they showed that they were from the Caribbean, and you're like, oh, okay, it's cool to be Caribbean now. Then you started waving your flag and, but before it's like I had two separate lives. I would go to the Caribbean parade and we would be on the floats and doing everything, or we'd be in the islands. But when I was around like my friends, I was just American.
Oh,
So you really just didn't interact it as much. But now, it's cool.
it's all blended.
Right.
What do you think is the difference between then and now?
I think it's music.
Ah,
I think that before the
culture
music
is
was
really,
really right. Everything is people appreciate Caribbean music now. And previously it wasn't like that. And maybe they did, or maybe they just didn't experience it. But I always, when I was growing up, I would hear, because as I said, I don't have an accent. I would hear people say, oh yes, those Caribbean people, they're coming and taking the jobs, and they'll just work anywhere. And I was sitting there like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm Caribbean, and they're like, oh. So
they
I
have no
can hear
idea
both.
because you don't have it like written across your forehead.
Right, right. And then with my father, he had, he was very negative against American blacks. Because I think he taught juvenile delinquents. So maybe his, the kids that he was teaching wasn't, giving him the best vibes. So I would hear him and I'm like, no, I have friends who are great. Like all my friends that are around me, I can't say that about them. So I would like listen to what he had to say and listen to what they had to say. And I was able to kind of like intercede, like, no, that's not true. And no, because I'm really from both worlds. So.
Right. So you had to kind of do a kind of tight world walk between polemic cultures at different times, and then to actually see the difference in attitudes from then and now must feel kind of surreal now, right?
I mean, it's just I don't know about surreal. Like, it's exciting.
Oh, okay.
It's just it's just a extra fun fact.
It's another part of your affirmed identity that you're proud to really represent, and it makes you even more a part of the global, a part of the world. I mean, you're not just located within the United States, but you're part of something that's in another part of the world as well. Right. And you have that lineage and linkage. It kind of connects. There's a connection even within your own life. Do you find it anyway reflected in your work, in your mindset, that you ever kind of come to a place where you say, oh, that's why I think like this, or that's why I think differently, or see things differently?
I mean, I think when it comes to, I have some Caribbean patients that they may be self-pay patients, and they won't fill out like any of patient assistant forms. I can kind of realize, okay, this person probably is not supposed to be here. But they've been here for so long, and they just pay. We work around it. We figure out payment scales, and I'm more open to it because I understand that this person's elderly. Really, they should be getting Medicare, but they're not here legally. So, and I don't really discuss.
They're not going to say anything if you don't say anything.
Right. Like, so yeah, it's and I think I'm more open to that, or when it comes to, I can probably pick up what they're saying. Like, I have one patient's just Jamaican. Now I don't understand all Jamaicans, but there's one patient's Jamaican, and whenever she speaks to anyone else, they have no idea what she's saying. But
does she do that intentionally?
I don't think so.
Okay.
When I speak to her, like I think my brain is just tuned to like understanding it better.
Yeah.
Even though my family's from all over. So my mother's from Trinidad, my father's from St. Lucia, my grandmother was from Dominica, and then I was born in Puerto Rico, and they live in St. Thomas. So I'm always hearing different types,
an eclectic
of accents, right? Yeah. So I think that helped me in medical school because I find that sometimes Caribbean men can be a little bit more, not all of them, I don't know all of them, but my dad, because kind of like a rough sound, like, Nika, come here, like go take care of that. Like it's just like a
directive kind of,
yeah, like a jabby kind of sound. And so I had an African doctor that everybody was scared of. And I wasn't scared of him because I heard my dad sound like that all the time. And so one day, he was a pediatrician. I was in on my rotations, and he was like, "You're not scared of me." I was like, "No, you sound like just like my father." He was like, "Oh." So
there you go.
That helped me out.
So he knew people were scared of him. He liked it.
Yes, he knew.
He liked it.
He knew. So
you disappointed him. You're such a disappointment.
So that was fun. It was so, and then it's interesting how just dealing with all people, trying to make people understand I'm still Black. I sometimes got, well, you're different. Like, why? I'm a Black person. Like, I don't know what you mean, but I'm different. And it wasn't in a good way. Like, I mean, it was a different way. They're saying that kind of like you're better than, and I'm like, I am not. Like, I'm Caribbean, and I grew up here. All my friends, most of my friends are people of color. So no, and my mother used to get that, where when she sold Cameo, which is like a lingerie, bras, and so she would be around all kinds of people, and she would sometimes, the person who was right over her was African American. My mother has an accent, and so sometimes she would get the jobs, or people would have her over the person who sounds like the African American. They like the accent, and that made you
more marketable, like exotic or something. Or?
Right. And so you saw some of that, and they at times I saw Caribbean people that were elite. They felt elite in comparison to African Americans. I had one lady who was my grandmother's friend, and she was like griping about something that she felt about her daughter-in-law. Her daughter-in-law was married to her son, and he is a Caribbean, and the daughter-in-law was African American. And she was like, "Oh, I can't believe he married her. Those African Americans, these Negroes, this." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, why are you even talking to me about this?"
It's a colonial indoctrination designed to divide us.
Definitely. And I said, "Ma'am, I can't. I was able to like sit there and tell her, you can't make assumptions about a group of people. That we're all different. There are good things and bad things in all of us. And I don't know if that made any difference to her, but I wasn't going for it. Like, I don't know. I have not met your son or your daughter-in-law, but you shouldn't be stepping into their relationship."
Ooh.
Basically, it's like she was trying to break them up, and like,
really?
That's not right. Yeah.
And she was being no bones about it. She was being very bold and, as a matter of fact, about it.
Wow. And telling me like, I'm not even your friend. You're my grandmother's friend. Like, I don't. Why are you telling me this? Yeah.
Wow. So you see the differences. You pick up on the accents. It's been useful, even effective in helping to mitigate multicultural settings, and it's put you in rare positions where you're able to navigate where some people would get stopped or stuck or even have real trouble. And the language of life itself, as well as what we speak, is something you've been gifted with the capacity to really kind of interpret and kind of appropriate. So what do you've seen change over time
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I feel that I think we're more together. Like, we African Americans, Caribbean. I mean, I think more people are married together.
Yeah,
My
certainly that
husband's
is certainly
American,
happened.
right? So my husband's, from East Orange, New Jersey. I grew up in East Orange, but I wasn't born there. And his family's from, either north or the south.
Wow.
I had never really been to the south when I was younger. First time I went to the south, I guess, was Florida. Yeah, I
Wow.
never went to the south, but so it's nice to be able to, like, see his, where his family's from. And it's nice to just see, different ways that he grew up. And I never knew how to make collard greens until I was dating I was dating a guy, and his family taught me how to. So, I'm able to, like, I'm able to cook foods that my husband will like, that he grew up with, because I learned from, African Americans how to cook it. And then he's learned how to eat things that he never ate when he was younger. So it's I think that we're sharing a lot more. And definitely with all that went on during COVID and all of that, I think people are even more just happy to, that
Your
we're
life.
more one. We're more united as a whole. So
I hear you. I hear you. Um, so we come to a day like Pan Africa Day. What kind of experiences do you think, or benefits do you think, come from such a celebration in a faith community, in a church? I mean, it's one thing in society and on your job, but how does that really? What do you think that mitigates with or affects the life of the church?
I think it just helps us to learn more about our family, our church family. Especially if people bring in foods, that'd be really great. Different types of foods. And then, we're going to have the kids do a Caribbean praise dance.
Nice.
You'll be seeing the traditional, they call it plaid. It's like a traditional plaid garments that they wear. So we're working on those. I had my mother send me down, send me up items for the kids to wear. And she was really excited about doing it. And she was like, should I come
Really?
down? Yeah. So she
Wow.
sent me things for them to wear. We're excited. It's not going to be
Right.
where I don't sew. So I'm not going to be as good as if my mom was here to sew the
Right.
parts together, but it's
Right.
still going to look nice.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Yeah. So I think the kids are excited about it. And I think that it's going to be exciting for the church, and especially, now they're more, you're hearing more of the Caribbean sound in the music anyway. So I don't think it's not like a shock to anyone. I just think it's going to be great.
I have always loved reggae. I'm a percussions dude anyway. I'm northeastern. I've had friends, and even when I came to Georgia, Athens, there were um, those who lived in Athens who were from Jersey, whose parents who immigrated to Northeast, and they migrated south when they retired. They may have worked in the government or whatever, and they retired in the South. And they were, a lot of them were members of Greater Bethel, Athens. And so we were cool. And I remember traveling through Canada, Quebec, Toronto. Oh man, I went to this one place one evening. They had speakers the size of refrigerators. in the club, and it was just booming. Oh, I loved it. It was like that heavy percussive beat. Oh man, I loved it. I love it. So I was always, and being in school, you're always in a HBCU, an eclectic space the Atlanta University Center, like all of these HBCUs clustered together, nowhere else on the planet I could think of. And I just felt really benefited by that syncretism of all those cultures. It was just an amazing experience. I was exposed to so much in one place.
Right. That's how it was at Lincoln University, another HBCU. And so we did, get to experience all types of cultures. And even when I went to medical school, we would have like a Caribbean day. I think just, people are just more open to learning about other cultures. And it's just fun. I would have, even if I had the study we would have exams all in 1 week. And I remember I would have, it was like Black History Month. And so I did an African dance class.
Oh.
And we were still practicing because we were going to do we're going to do it. And they're like, you're practicing, you should be studying. I was like, I'm always studying. Like, I'm going to do this African dance class. We're going to have fun. Like, so.
Which is a part of it. It's a learning process.
Right.
Learning experience.
Yes. So, and it's amazing how much the kids are enjoying the African dance or the Caribbean dance. They're really enjoying themselves. So I think the whole church is going to benefit from it.
I think so too. And so let me just make sure I have the verbiage correct, because there's so many, as you said, and the bell hooks helped me to see this. And I see this too when we even talk about our Latino sisters and brothers. And, I don't like to use just Latino, and some feel like they're Hispanic. Some say Mexicanos, some say Puerto Rican or Oaxacan. It's just so many different, and language is so limited in many cases just because it's imperialist in the beginning. So It is not given to expressions of the nuances, but it's always about trying to define in ways that divide and control and compartmentalize and try to hierarchically connect other. So it's, you have to always watch the language that you use. So I just find it just fascinating, to really look at all the different variations. But if I were to try to figure out how to explain, what would you say? You're Caribbean American, or how would you define yourself? I guess the biggest thing is how you define yourself. And that's, people need to have the right to define themselves.
So it was interesting with the census this year or last year, when they gave you more slots that you could fill in.
Oh,
so
really?
I was able, yes.
Right.
So I was able to hit African American, and then they said, okay, and then they broke it down further, and I was able to put in Caribbean American because there wasn't, and it gave me that option. It gave me Caribbean American, so that was pretty cool. And I think that at first I didn't know what to put because they didn't give you that option of Caribbean American. And I was like, am I African American? But I said, anyone that's from in the African diaspora, if they're in America, is, we're still African American. So that's how I did that. But it's nice to be able to also say I'm also Caribbean American. So I used to go either with West Indian or Caribbean.
Okay.
Yeah. But if they don't have those options, I'm going to put African American because I'm still African American. So yeah.
Well, if they just put black, if they just have black or white, you just put black.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to just put human in some cases, because I just really despise the differentiation. One of my courses I taught at Cal State LA was called the Race, Activism, and Emotion. And I encountered, texts to talk about the whole science of so-called biological typologies, and the whole our hierarchical science and how it was so subjective. And I just had a way of just resisting the language itself. I just think that we have to do some kind of a linguistical rearrangement, and that eventually some kind of way English is going to have to lose its hegemony in the global conversation. Some kind of way we've got to do away with that divisiveness within the language itself, and figure out how to, it's almost the kind of way that you hear things. You can't really put it into words, but you hear different things, and your brain is so freaking sophisticated, you're able to sort of understand. And it just seems like we just have to have that kind of way of understanding other and ourselves, and then be able to express it in a way that creates community and family and the unity you're talking about, which is probably the excitement that you're experiencing, because you're able to even see it happening in ways and that others probably can't see it. So you've been given a gift by virtue of your varied experiences and expressions within you. It's an amazing kind of walk that you walk. I'm sensing. Well, thank you so much for taking time. I know it's been a long day, and we're going to get out of here. I got to get home. I'm still at the church, and
I'm still at work.
Still at work. So yeah, and we're going to try to pull spices together. We'll try to kind of pick out a few minutes of each of yours, Sister Estelle's, Sister Reverend Ali, and the Ebel family. Also, I think I'm saying their name correctly, was also from Guyana. So all three of them from Guyana, and they represent the diaspora within Guyana, Indian and African, and then more of the Aboriginal. Okay. So which is really kind of interesting kind of thing. That is
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I see it. All right, well, and rest well. Thank you. Anything else you want to say before you go?
Just get excited for Sunday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being a part of this edition of The Struggle is Real, and the struggle continues, and we'll continue to learn and grow. Blessings and peace to you. Thank you so much. Rest well, okay?
All right, you too.
All right. Yes, ma'am. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You are from there, and I see you have a flag up.
Yes, sir.
That's Guyana.
Yeah, let me hold it up properly for you so that you can see it.
Yes,
for a minute, but you get all my colors and my golden arrow and all.
Mother Haley explained all of that. I'll be happy to also entertain your understanding of it as well. We're here for another edition of The Struggle is Real, and the struggle continues as we prepare for our first ever Pan-Africa celebration, Pan-African Day at St. Paul. And we're learning that there are many members of our church who are from various parts of the world, across the global diaspora and the continental diaspora. And it's a privilege to be able to celebrate that diversity with members of our fellowship. And so Reverend Ali, Rebecca Ali, is one of our associate ministers that everybody knows, and everybody knows she's from that particular from Guyana, and as several others, we're finding out but what is interesting is that people can be from the same area but not really even know who else is from where they're from, which I find fascinating. So it's you know, amazing to kind of get a sense of what that looks like. So we're appreciating the opportunity to kind of talk, dialogue about that, and just get a sense of what your story is, what brought you to the States, and some of the differences. So you were showing your flag. What is it that you what did you like about your flag? What is it that is so symbolic and meaningful about the flag for you?
I would like to think because it represents the country in which I was born. It will always be dear to my heart. We sing Dear Land Guyana, of mountains and plains made rich by the sunshine and drenched with the rain, and we are part of the Amazon jungles. We are a small country at the northeast corner of the South American map. So how did we become one of the West Indies, one of the members of the West Indies movement, the CARICOM movement, like the Caribbean islands? We are the only English-speaking country in South America, meaning when the English sailed to Guyana in the 1800s, leaving India, the Indian people of India left with the English, and they took them to various different islands and countries, such as Jamaica, Trinidad, Bahamas, so many other English-speaking islands, and we are that only country of the islands, the island group of the British West Indies. So the country flag, I would think, as dear as the colors of the American flag is to you, Pastor, it's very dear.
Of the American flag?
Yes, sir.
You mean the red, black, and green flag?
Okay.
I don't mind. I'm not ashamed at all to say I'm still, the red, white, and blue has a different symbolic symbol for me. It's not the same as it is for you.
Understanding the history of which that flag was created, I could understand your take on that. Guyana, our motto is land of many waters, where the 6 races are living together.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Portuguese and Native Indians. Mm-hmm. We have East Indians and what we are called Indi-Guyanese. There are African descents, which are called Afro-Guyanese. Mm. And we count the European nation as one of those nations because at one time they were there. Over the years, many of them have pulled out. We still have a handful. So the European population, I would like to say, is our smallest population of Guyana. So we've got Indian, African, Native, Portuguese, European, and I'm missing one, Portuguese and white. Oh, Chinese. We have Chinese Guyanese.
So I learned that. That was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And over the years, we started to intertwine with each other better than before our independence in 1966 mm-hmm. from the British West Indies. And that's when most of the European pulled out. Okay. Our first president of Guyana became an Indi-Guyanese. And but when I was born, we didn't have what you call quote unquote president. We had the leader, which was a prime minister, and he was Afro-Guyanese. So he's the only one I remember in office for all of my 13 years from birth to the time I prepared to migrate to the United States of America. So my prime minister was Eliphas Forbes Barnum, and he was a great leader to me as the child as I grew. In middle school, I started to get heavy. Well, tail end of elementary school, middle school started to get heavy into the politics.
Right.
So we look forward to the prime minister and his crew rolling in. And of course, they used a combination of foreign cars, Mercedes-Benz, Rolls-Royce, were the popular cars, and other English-made cars.
Right.
We drove on the right-hand side of the road. Our steering wheel was on the right hand. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite different from the United States of America.
It is quite so. Quite so. That's kind of fascinating, actually.
I'm wearing a dashiki tonight because it's one of the popular wear in Guyana.
Really?
Yes, sir. So
it
I
certainly
decided
shows
to
that African. Is that both African and Indian, or?
Yeah, everyone wears it, but I would think it's more Afro-Guyanese.
Okay.
Originated. Each culture still embrace a lot of their motherland attire for functions.
Okay.
But most of Guyana functions during the years I lived, because our prime minister was Afro-Guyanese.
Okay.
When we had our carnivals, we celebrated our independence and all. It was a lot of Afro colors there, and the music, we blended together
Mm-hmm.
the reggae music and the calypso music with the steel band, and the soca music was where the indie music came in and blended with the island music, So we all attended church together. You show up at church and there was Afro-Guyanese and Chinese Guyanese and Indie Guyanese and Native Guyanese, and it was just
church.
The way of life at church, the church that I was born into, Assemblies of God. My dad was an evangelist, and I grew up around all this multicultural in church.
Mm-hmm.
And we had steel band in church too. Congo drums. It was pretty live.
I love it. That's kind of amazing.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know anything about island people, we love to dance.
Okay, that wasn't looked down on in the islands, though.
Not at all. Not at all, because we weren't so traditional. When I say we, more so the Indie Guyanese weren't as traditional as India. The Chinese Guyanese weren't so traditional as China.
Mm-hmm.
There was a handful of Portuguese, and Native Indian was high on their dancing. Afro-Guyanese, dance was not looked down upon in Africa, looking at like the Nigerian and a few different other way of living in Africa. So the drums, the Congo drums, the steel drums, the guitar, the tambourine, lead guitar, bass guitar, all was in church, and we had a good time.
Well, what brought you to the United States?
It's a fairy tale story. I'll try to make a long story extra short.
Okay.
A relative who married into my family is a pastor, or maybe was a pastor. He probably is retired right now because of his age, but he was at the time, as I was a child preparing to come here, it was all birthed through him. Mm-hmm. A lady met him at one of the revivals, and as she was visiting with him, she saw my picture in his photo album and thought, Oh, if I had a daughter, I think she might look more like this girl. Tell me the story about this girl. And he said, well, you know, her father is dead and her mother has 6 children remaining, her being one. Maybe you can talk to the family about releasing her to you. The lady was African American and her husband was European American. And she had 2 boys, but she never had a girl. So she, in her head, that's what her girl would have looked like if she could have a girl. So she visited Guyana, asked her and my mother talked it over, all that good stuff. My mother agreed for her to be a guardian. You know, the story of my name, Rebecca, from Genesis 24. She was visited by Isaac's Isaac's father's right-hand man, and she was chosen and returned to this country to Isaac. Here I am, I think, living my name. That's how I came to America. And then that lady who was my guardian at the time decided, seeing she knows a little bit of the Indian culture, she should arrange my marriage to her brother. And I was married to the slightly older man.
So the African American woman married you to her
brother
in America.
In America. Okay, she forged. She had my ID as older than I am, so that we could carry out the marriage without my mother's permission because I was yet a minor. And seeing I was new to the country, I didn't know how to contact my mother other than giving her letters to send to my mother, which later on I found out she never sent. And so by the age of 16, I was able to contact my mother and ask for permission, and then remarried my late husband as Rebecca Ali in my actual age at 16.
Okay. Interesting. So there you are, married in this country, and still, what is it that still appeals to you about America?
I feel like now it's the only country in which I can relate to as an adult, because all the 13 years was childhood years in Guyana. So I feel that there's nowhere else I can manage so comfortably in life as I do here, because from 14 on, I grew up here. So everything I learned as an adult, I learned here. I have visited Guyana a few times over, but everybody knew that I was just a born Guyanese visiting. It was obvious in so many ways. Just speak and they knew it. I've lost most of my Guyanese accent.
I see. So the language is English, but you just had an accent with the English.
Exactly. There's a greater British accent on the proper English, and then we have a broken English similar to what the sound of Jamaicans' broken English, and it's called Creolese, or Patois, and it sounds so. Therefore, when a Jamaican speaks to me, just about anything they say, I just have lost my way of speaking back to them.
Okay. What so this last question, what would be the benefit, you think, of having a day to celebrate your ethnicity or your ancestry or your origin of birth here at St. Paul? What is your opinion about that? What do you think about that?
When it comes to St. Paul, but overall the AME Church, I was moved to tears to think I am accepted somewhere.
Wow.
So I couldn't speak at first when I first went to the Board of Examiners. I was in tears, and they were patient with me, and they thought I was overwhelmed with speaking, not understanding. So the benefit is able to share with you where I'm from, how the beginning of my years in America was, and what it has become, and helping people, anyone who hear my voice through this interview, to get a better understanding of my birth country and culture.
Did they have that celebrated in your home church? What is that like?
When we celebrate,
like this weekend, we have Pan-Africa Day. What is that like for you?
Oh my gosh, it's like carnival. Plenty of food and fruits, and we turn up the notch, and we have several churches come in, and it's a Holy Ghost party, don't get me wrong, but it is live.
Okay.
And
it won't quite be like that at St. Paul, with all the churches and everything, but we'll start somewhere, and we'll figure out where to go from there.
Oh, I definitely will ask I have mentioned to my Jamaican brother and sister about us West Indians teaming up on Reverend Cannon to get him to play a little reggae or soca or calypso or a little bit of all.
Okay, I'll ask him to bring his steel drums and do a set for us.
Wonderful, and we'll have you dance in West Indian style.
I don't know. I'll watch. We'll see how it's done by you experts.
Yeah, sure, Pastor. Thank you. Thank you for this time.
Well, it's been a blessing to kind of talk with you about it, and just to kind of get your sense. Again, the flag. Talk about the symbolism for it as we close out, please.
We're a rich nation. It represents some of our gold, some of the mineral, the bauxite, the rice, and I think because of the other country heritage, it's very similar to a South African flag. So it's a combination of our heritage and what we export. Our most recent export is oil now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I can go on, but in a short summary, that's the most I can give you at this time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much again, and peace and blessings to you. Thanks for sharing about your heritage.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm so honored to be on your team.
Pleasure. God bless you. Have a great evening, and we'll look forward to showing this a snippet of this on Sunday, but as a part of our presentation tomorrow evening on Struggle.
Thank you, sir.
Continues. All right, family. So you've heard from Reverend Rebecca Ali, who is a native Ghanaian. Guyanese, and who is proudly a part of the America. She's proud to be an American citizen, but definitely also proud of her Guyanese heritage.
Yes, sir.
And is a part of the St. Paul family, an integral part of the ministry and the work of the church. And so we appreciate that very much. Peace and blessings to you, and thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
All
Bless
right.
you.
See you later.
Yes, sir.
Bye. We're grateful on this during this segment of The Struggle is Real, The Struggle Continues. My co-host is working at the moment, but we're pre-recording. We're going to utilize much of what we talk about today for our segment of The Struggle is Real, The Struggle Continues, as we talk about Diaspora Day, our celebration of the various places from which we come, celebrating the global and continental diaspora. And we're just discovering that some of our family members are from various parts around the global diaspora, and we want to celebrate that. I think it's important for us to recognize the nuanced places from which we've come, that God has brought us together and has created family. It's fulfillment of Scripture. I'll call all the nations together to praise my name, and we represent that. And to the extent we do, we should celebrate that.
Yeah.
And I want to bring to the attention of our family, Sister Estelle, who is going to talk with us about her ancestry and why she's proud of being where she's from, and talk about why she thinks Diaspora Day, or celebrating our diaspora, is such an important time and framework within which to really be connected and to bond and to make relationships real. So, Sister Estelle, everybody.
Yes, my name is Estelle Haley, and I am proud resident. No, I was since a resident. I was born in Guyana, South America.
Mm-hmm.
Guyana is not an island, as they always say, oh, you're from the island, we're from the island. In school, we were taught an island is a place surrounded by water.
Mm-hmm.
We are not surrounded by any water. Just want to make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
However, our flag, I mean, I have to mention the flag because it is an integral part of our country.
Mm-hmm.
It is called the Golden Arrowhead.
Mm-hmm.
And as you cannot see it,
Mm-hmm.
but it has
You
five.
want to turn it around so people can see it?
Okay,
Golden arrowhead there.
yes.
Okay.
It has five symbolic colors.
Mm-hmm.
And these colors, they represent each and every aspect of what Guyana is all about.
Wow.
You see, because they figure, well, Guyana is what? Filled with bushes and snakes and whatever the case may be, whatever. No, it's a very rich country.
Beautiful.
The five symbols is the green. It represents the agriculture
Mm-hmm.
of the forest.
Okay.
The white symbolizes the rivers and water potential of the country.
Okay.
A golden arrow represents Guyana mineral wealth. The black portrays the endurance that will sustain the forward thrust of the Guyanese people.
Wow.
And red represents the zeal and dynamic nature of nation building, which lies before the young independent Guyana.
All right, so let's go through this, and I'll point at it as you identify it. First color you said was
The green.
all right. So you said the green. Okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
That's okay. The green represents. Oh, it's on here. Okay.
No, I don't think I wrote it down here.
Okay.
I could
All right.
read it.
So the green represents. Okay.
Agriculture.
Okay. That's this part here.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Then we have the white, symbolizes the river.
White represents the river.
Yes.
Okay.
Then we have the golden arrow, which is at this pointing there. The golden.
Golden arrow right here.
Yeah, right, that is pointing there.
Okay.
Okay, then we have the black.
Mm-hmm.
It portrays endurance.
The resilience and endurance of the people.
Yes.
Amazing. All right.
And the red represents the zeal and Also,
Thank you.
I made some note last night,
Okay.
and it says, first of all, Guyana is a nation, is a country of 6 nations,
Okay.
and that is the Indians, Black, Portuguese, Chinese, Aboriginal.
Chinese?
Yes, we
Wow.
have Chinese there.
Hmm. Okay.
We have Aboriginal Indians,
Mm-hmm.
which we call over here, you call American Indian.
Okay.
But the culture there is different from what you have here
Okay.
because they live like in the forest and they have their own culture.
Okay.
For them to come to Georgetown, they have to come either by helicopter or by boat.
Georgetown is
It's
in
the central
Of Guyana.
of Guyana. Yes.
Nice.
Also, and you have like white Canadians and you have British,
British, the Europeans.
then the European.
Okay.
So they all, and also the Guyana also is the only English country, the only English-speaking country
Okay, in the Caribbean.
in the
So
Caribbean.
this you want to speak to your audience there. We can talk, but you also want to speak to your audience as well. So you can talk to me and you can talk to them too.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You don't have to be sorry. It's all right.
Yes. Where were we?
So you were saying it's the only English speaking.
Yes. And we were ruled by Britain
Mm-hmm.
after they won the war from the French.
Mm-hmm.
Guyana also was named as it was a colony.
Mm.
It was a Dutch colony. But after Britain won the war from the French,
Mm-hmm.
they took over the country that we call now Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
And it was spelled Guiana.
Okay.
But since the independence, it is spelled differently now. It is GUY.
Oh, they just
Yeah,
changed the
yeah,
name.
they changed the I to the
All
Y.
right.
Yeah, it's been changed.
All right.
Yes. The resources are sugar,
Mm-hmm.
rice, bauxite,
Mm-hmm.
sugar, rice, bauxite.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than that they have.
Do you have gold or?
Diamond and gold,
Diamond.
more or less, diamond and gold that they have,
Mhm.
which they export to various countries, and rice. It is a what how must I put it? They have their land of many waters.
Okay.
They have like the Kaitour Falls, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
the highest fall, the drop in the world. That is
Ooh.
760 feet.
Wow.
That is how high it is. And it's a constant flow
Mm-hmm.
of that country, of the water there. Guyana also, it's rich, as I have it here, it is rich. Well, recently they have oil.
Mm. Well, they've discovered.
They discovered the oil now.
They tapped into it, but they've always had it.
So because of that now, they have so many people now coming and going into the
Lord.
country. They're overflowing now to the country now because of the oil.
Mm.
Things now are so expensive
Mm-hmm.
because of that. Everybody wants, even though I'm sorry to say, no, I'm not going to say that.
So say what you think.
No.
You don't want to say everybody's coming in and want to take over.
But that's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
We're not gonna make Mama say what she don't want to say.
The thing, being a colony there, the Africans, they came as slaves into the country. So most of the things that we have or what we have done, it's from their culture, their food. The Indians, they also came as indentured Indians, but they worked the fields.
Mhm.
So their food, like the roti and the dal and dal puri, things like that, that is their culture. So we adapt some of their culture from Africa and from the Indians.
Okay.
Also, the Portuguese, they have their culture also
Right.
because they're Catholic. So some of their things, like we have Pancake Day.
Oh, Pancake Day.
Yes. Um, it's always, I think, in May.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, pancake day. But the pancake is not what you have here. It's some tiny little things like that.
Oh.
It's very tiny
Mm-hmm.
and little balls, but it's very rich.
Oh, like a hors d'oeuvre, like an appetizer almost, like a cheese ball or something about that.
Something.
Stuff.
Yes, yes. And that is
The
something.
sweet and
Well, the sweet comes because they make the syrup.
oh yeah.
You have to have the bit of syrup by itself.
Oh, let me just ask you this because this reminds me of what I heard the story of hush puppies.
Okay.
That hush puppies were used by enslaved Africans who were escaping. They would make these balls of corn
Hmm.
and they would put a lot of molasses or syrup or whatever on it. And the dogs that were chasing them, they would drop them out in the field, and the dogs that were chasing them would chew on the sweet hush puppies,
Okay.
and they get so sticky in their mouths they couldn't bark.
Oh,
That's why they call them hush puppies.
Oh, okay. All
But
right.
it's like,
Makes
but that
sense.
sounds interesting. That what you're talking about reminds me of that. How there could have been something carried over from
Yeah.
other islands and other places. That's amazing. Okay.
Well, this here is made a lot of eggs.
Okay.
Lots of eggs.
Made a lot of eggs,
Yes,
okay.
a lot of eggs. And,
Mm-hmm.
I made that batter just like you're making the regular your American pancake, something like that, but more eggs.
Okay.
And you make little spoon there, and
So they had to also cultivate chickens and cows. They had to
Oh,
do
yes.
dairy
Yeah.
and poultry.
yes. So there's where the Indians come in, because that is something that they were doing where they came from in India. So now they work the fields and the sugarcane in the sugarcane industry, like cutting the cane,
Mm-hmm.
and they do not use machine to cut the cane. Cut the cane. They use their hand. They call it a scythe.
Mm-hmm.
SYTHE.
Mm-hmm.
They use that scythe to cut that cane, and then be transported from there into something we call a punt,
Mm-hmm.
and then it goes to the factory,
Right.
and it becomes sugar and molasses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is all what you saw and grew up seeing in Guyana. Or this is what how old were you when you moved here to the United States?
I was in my 40s when I came to the United
All right.
States.
So you had grown up seeing all of these things and grew up learning these things about your native country,
Yes.
your history.
Yes.
Let me ask you this: before the settlers colonized Guyana, who was there?
We had before it was colonized, we had the British. They were there.
Before the British.
No one was before the British. The British is the one who really discovered that country, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, after the war,
Mm-hmm.
so they're the ones who found, because, like I said, it was a colony. It was, plain like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they discovered that place. I don't know if they fought there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
Because I'm wondering who the indigenous were there.
The indigenous, okay.
Were there like native populations that were already there, and then the British came and not sure. But if you're not sure, then that's okay.
No. I just want to tell you how it became there, how it become. And that's why I walk with this here to help me out,
Okay.
to give me a chance.
Okay.
Where they fought with this introduction, where they fought.
Mhm.
Sorry, now.
All right.
Just telling you.
South American nation, more common, smaller island, West Indies. Our Guyana's economy was traditionally dominated with sugar cultivation, all that. All right. It doesn't really say in this text here, but I can imagine that there were population, there were populations that were there.
I think they were the Dutch because they said Guyana was a Dutch colony. So they were Dutch natives there.
Okay. All right. It says that the rivers and that, let's see this page 2. There's no, page 2 is missing. I'm sure probably page 2
Oh.
may have.
That's the one. Oh, maybe I left that one. That's because that's the one
That's
saying about
okay.
the war and how. Okay, that is what happened.
That may be, that has the information about who was there before. Does any nation or area had people there when the British arrived and when the Portuguese arrived, but they were probably either impacted by disease or by some type of physical conquest.
Disease? No. No.
Because the Europeans brought, they would bring their own stuff with them, and sometimes, like for Columbus, for instance, when he came, the Europeans brought all kinds of stuff with them, and it really decimated a great number of native populations. And so, but I don't know if that's the case with Guyana.
I don't know a whole lot. I grew up.
But now, what's important, what we were wanting to have you share was why, when you came here at 40, your story, what was important for you in terms of your coming to the United States?
Coming to the United States, before I came here,
Okay.
I was in London for a little while. Then
Okay.
from there, I was in Canada.
Wow.
I stayed there for a while.
Wow.
But my sisters, I have sisters that lives right now in New York.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones who invited me over.
Mm-hmm.
And there I stayed in Jersey. I worked at University Hospital for 21 years. And from there, I retired after my son died. Then I moved here.
Bless your heart. That was a difficult transition, a series of transitions for you.
Yeah, but living in Guyana, it's a country that I will never neglect,
Mm-hmm.
or say I will never go back there to live or whatever the case may be, because educational wise,
Mm-hmm.
they are it. When you live there, because the education is so strict and harsh,
All right.
you can work anywhere in the world.
You can make it in Guyana. You can make it anywhere.
Yes, I'm serious.
Okay.
Anywhere in the world.
Okay.
You see, because we never use calculator.
Oh.
You have to use your
Mhm.
mentally.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and you don't know the answer, then you get a whip on your back or in your hand.
Oh,
So,
wow. You were
they were
forced to-
they were very strict.
I see.
So you have to know, there's no time time to relax. You have to really focus when you go to school. You have to focus. Pronounce your words like British, like in London. It's not, and that's the reason why they're saying it's the only English country in the Caribbean. It's how you pronounce your words, how you read,
Okay.
the way how you when you're speaking, where the comma is, where you lax there, and you meet a full stop, you stop there, things like that.
Right.
Their teaching is very strict
Okay.
and hard, but when you live there, you're well
You
learned.
are prepared.
Yes, you're well learned. You can go anywhere in the world.
Okay. And you did. You basically went a lot of places. All right. So, what were your occupations in, say, London and Canada? What did you do in London and Canada?
In London, really, I was there. I was going to school to do I went to Bells College there for secretarial work.
Okay.
In Guyana was shorthand typist.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there and I pursued that.
Mm-hmm.
When I left there, I went to Canada. I worked in one of the nursing homes from there, then I came to the States.
Okay. Fantastic.
But
And,
working in Guyana, before I left Guyana, my first job was as a telephone operator.
okay.
Then I became a unit clerk,
Okay.
no, a payroll clerk.
Wow.
Yes,
So you worked in the office and did really data entry and you organized things and you made sure everything was where it was supposed to be and was
Yes.
legible and
Yes.
accessible.
exactly.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yes, because we learned to add, not your fingers.
Mhm.
You have to add like,
Mm-hmm. Oh, with the slide rule.
no, with your head.
With your
Nine,
hand.
as
Oh,
you're going down, you keep adding like
yes,
that.
yes. Oh, so you had all the numbers. You just had to make all that happen in your head.
Hmm.
All those numbers had to kind of work together.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's really a lot of mental training and focus, as you said,
Yes,
and being able to, have a little confidence in your skill set and
yes.
work hard. Well, I think that's astounding. Well, tell me some of the things that you like about some of the things that if you were to compare Guyana to United States, for instance, what are some of the things you find that you miss about Guyana and some of the things you're grateful that you're able to experience in the U.S.?
In Guyana, mannerism,
Mm.
friendliness.
Mm-hmm.
They're always there to help. You're not being criticized. I don't know for now, but I know when growing up there, you're not being criticized. That someone is always out there to help you in whatever capacity you're in.
Mm-hmm.
They're there to help you. If you're sick or anything like that, if they cannot do it, they find someone else who can do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
They're always there to help. Um, my outlook coming to the States, it's far different from what I have experienced and what I know
Mm-hmm.
of America. For some, well, I don't know for everyone, but for me, when you ask a question, let's say I'm a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
When I first left Canada, I came here. I didn't know the buses that take me with.
Right.
And I just asked a simple question. I said, "Sir, can you tell me if this bus will take me?" And he was so arrogant to me. Yes, he was. But he should have done that and went on. And I said, I just simply want to know if, well, you should have known before you come to the bus.
Oh, Lord.
So these are some of the things that turned me off.
About America.
Yes, and some jobs that I've gone to before working in the university hospital, I did. I worked at a nursing home also. The behavior of some of the nurses there too. They look at you, first of all, you are not an American. That's number one.
So you're outsider.
Yes,
You're
they
treated like an
let you
outsider.
know who you are, that you don't belong here. What are you doing in this country?
Were these African Americans too?
Pardon?
Were these African Americans who had that attitude, or just Europeans?
No, both of them.
Both European Americans and African Americans.
But it's more our people.
More African Americans
Yes.
like that.
Why are you here? What are you doing in this country? You come here to take away our job. No, we're here to help you. Because what we do, because I'm working hard. And what we're doing, you are not. You depend on us to do everything for you.
Oh, like domestic,
Yes.
I say,
You
the
know.
jobs that you won't do anymore. We
There's
immigrants.
yes. You take all the immigrants from America,
Everybody's
and you tell me what's going to happen to America. Take them out and let them go back to where they come. All the millions, let them go back to their country.
It'd be
And then what happens?
native populations again.
Then what happens? So don't condemn anyone that come here because we're helping. We're producing.
Right.
So don't tell me to go back to your country. Because first of all of us that are here, the Americans, they are not true Americans either.
Mm-hmm.
They're not true Americans. their foreparents or their parents from another country.
Somewhere else.
So stop complaining of who we are or where we come from.
Right.
Don't make that an issue. And these are some of the things in Guyana you don't find that.
Right.
That's the only thing that differentiates Guyana with America. In Guyana, they don't tell the Indians go back to India. They don't tell they do not tell the British go back to Britain. No, they do not do that. They welcome you. You're being welcomed.
And do you find that when you have your celebrations, your national celebrations or your cultural celebrations, everybody participates in those, or is it
Yes.
everybody's together?
Yes.
Everybody has a part of that.
Yes, because they celebrate independence, it's being celebrated. Also, they have a thing called Mashramani. That name came from like the Indian, the Aboriginal Indian. They named it the Mashramani. So that is everyone, black, Indian, white. It don't matter. Anyone, everyone is involved in celebrating that.
I find it amazing that out of the horror of colonization and imperialism comes the symbolism that you represented, that beautiful flag, the imaging, the spear in front, if I might keep in mind, that beautiful flag with the green being the fertility of the people, the yellow, gold being the thrust forward, the white being the stream and the water, the black being the resilience of the people, gold being the minerals and so forth, and red being the, all of the, the idea of being able to continue to push forward the zeal and dynamic nature of nation building in the red. I think that's an amazing kind of display of your history and your future. And let me ask you this: why do you think that having a day like Diaspora how do you feel about a day like Diaspora Day, celebrate in the church the diaspora, the different cultures and places that they come from?
It is amazing, and it is cultivating in the sense that we're not pointing finger to anyone. In other words, regardless where we're from, we're all one.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever country, whatever color we are, we're still one.
Right.
We serve the same person we serve each and every day, we serving God.
Yes.
Is that one God we serve, regardless where we're from. So with this dynamic or whatever it is that is we're having on Sunday, it is something beautiful. That you can express yourself.
Right.
You can express yourself and say, yes, I am from ABC,
Right.
and I know, and I am coming here. I am happy to be here also because you have one knowledge from where you're from, and there's another knowledge that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
We combine them together. You look at where you are. You're dynamic.
Absolutely. You're as dynamic as that red part there in that arrow. You're dynamic and we're straight and pointing in a particular direction.
Yes.
And it's pointing towards a common direction where that everybody is going in the same way. I want to thank you for sharing your history, your knowledge of your home nation, and reminding us that it's not an island, that it's part of a larger nation.
Yes, it's a Commonwealth. It's a Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth.
It's part of the Commonwealth.
And that being from there prepared you for going anywhere in the world.
In the world.
Was what you did.
I'm not being facetious or anything like that, but it is the truth. Because even before I left Guyana, my last job when I left Guyana, I was working with the government.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with the what do you call it over here? Who was from? Oh, what is his designation?
The Prime Minister? Yeah, you're talking about in Canada or in
No, in Guyana. Before I left, I worked with them. I work in the Prime Minister's office. Okay. So I have knowledge of hair, a little hair.
Government and monarchy
and everything.
Right. So you had a good general kind of a connection with different parts of government and society and the culture, different levels of government.
Yes.
And the parliament and lawmakers and businesses and all that, different leaders.
Yes.
It's amazing. Well, I want to thank you for sharing and thank you for giving us a sense of why Diaspora Day was such an important day in the life of St. Paul.
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
I hope we can make this an annual celebration about
Yes.
diaspora.
We should.
And how are you going to wear the colors Sunday?
Not really. It's, you know.
I'm wearing my name. I'm from my people are Fang and Nigerian,
What do you need,
which is Gabon and Nigeria. And I'm gonna wear a green and white shirt
Okay.
to show my ethnicity. It's kind of a polo. It doesn't have the symbol like that, but it's green and white. So those are the
Well, you
colors.
know, in there, the men, they have a thing called short jack.
Mm.
You know the short jack?
Mhm.
And that they wear that, you know, like in the government,
Mm.
you must have your short jack
Oh, yes.
on it.
Symbolism.
Yeah.
Well, even if you only have one or two of those colors, you know, just to represent and just to show our colors and our culture. If you have a dish or anything from there that somebody can make for you, I don't know. But we're going to have individuals who are going to bring some food items to represent the taste
Don't
and
you make
flavor.
this chow mein we make a lot. Chow mein.
Chow mein, what's that?
The noodles,
Oh,
and you know, you put vegetables in it or chicken.
I want the pancake. I like that deal. All those sweet cakes that you.
Yeah, but you know, it's by itself, and then you just put the syrup in it and
Oh.
you eat it.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. Well, thank you so much for just being with us. And thank you, Reverend Smith, for facilitating, being our executive producer and engineer on the side. She didn't want to be a part of the shot. But I do want to get from you, if you don't mind, why you think Diaspora Day is an important observance for. Yes, ma'am. Why do you think it's, you can just be on, but you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to be. But why do you think it's an important observance for us? And
I think that the Diaspora Day on Sunday is very important to our community, being people of color, to come together, to worship together, to embrace cultures that we may not have had an opportunity to embrace, especially coming from the same original place. And I think that it's beautiful to be able to share all together on this particular Sunday and look forward to many, many more.
More Sundays,
I
yeah.
think it's really great. I really think it's great. And not only that, we may see ourselves and each other.
that's right. That's right.
And be
Yeah,
able to wonder,
I'm looking at
am I
Reverend
from that
Smith's
country or
outfit.
I'm not that country?
I'm looking at Reverend Smith's outfit, and I see a lot of the colors here. And if you
No,
notice,
this is from Nigeria.
right, but you see some of the same colors: the red, the
Absolutely.
gold, and the green.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, whatever one or two colors you have, Mother Haley, you certainly are welcome to exhibit that. All right. Well, we want to. We're going to show some of this on Sunday. Brother Roger's going to do some magic.
Show my picture.
Oh no, it's just a brief blurb. It's just why you liked why you thought the Diaspora Day was important. But and it's going to be on our podcast, part of the podcast,
Yes,
just
it
to show, celebrate.
Yes, as Reverend Smith said, but she's correct. You know, we get to interact with each other
Mhm.
from the various parts of the country that we're from. We get to know each other better that we never knew.
Mhm.
And there are some people in the church you don't know exactly where they're from.
Mhm.
So with this in mind, it kind of elevates the thing to let us know, look, okay, I didn't know you're from there. I didn't know you're from there. Yes, I am, because no one ever said anything.
Mhm.
So it makes us part of the family. We're all one family.
Right. I'm really hurt by listening to many ways in which we are divided, and I think it's a mechanism of the enemy to keep us distracted and against each other as opposed to working together. So I want to thank you for doing it. Thank you so much for being here. And we're going to close with this. We're thankful for Mama Estelle Haley just making herself available and being a witness for Diaspora Pan-Africa Day, our first one here at St. Paul. We're going to celebrate this on and on, we pray, but it begins with just sharing and worship, sharing and witness, colors, the culture, a little bit of our history. I bet you learned something. I know I did. I learned something today.
You have? What have you learned?
Oh, see, now she's a schoolmaster. She's she's giving me a quiz. All right, so I learned.
What have you learned?
One of them, don't show me, I don't want to see the cheat sheet. The one thing that really impacted me was what you said, because I said the same thing about Atlanta. You said that if you can make it in Guyana, you can make it anywhere in the world. I said the same thing about Atlanta when I was in school. When I was coming up from the HBCUs, the Morehouse, Spelman, all of that. I was like, this is no place like this anywhere in the world. And I said, if I can make it here as an African American in Atlanta, I can make it anywhere in the world. And I have been around the world from Atlanta. And I understand it. I heard Reverend Smith say earlier about all the African countries that she's been able to go to. And I'm looking forward to those places and operating on an international scale and level as we continue to move forward in life, Lord willing. And I'm learning the symbolism of that arrow, the flag, and the pointing forward, and the river, the people, the fertility, the resilience, the natural resources, all being directed, all of it going in one direction.
Yes.
And having that vector, if you will, I think is just astounding to me. And I know that from my teachings and what I've learned about colonial history was that there were people in these lands before the British or the French or the Portuguese arrived, and they basically, overpowered the people one way or another. But it's amazing that the culture outlasted imperialism, which is what independence is all about. No matter what happens to you, you're still who you are. You're still who you are. And to me, that also points back to mental wellness and emotional wellness. No matter the trauma that we go through individually and collectively, some kind of way, we are still going to survive. And that's what getting the care that we need really represents, the fact that we have desire to survive. Now I don't put you on the spot, but you represent that to me, Mama Estelle, because you've been through a lot of things. I'll tell you this, when I saw you come to worship for Easter sunrise worship, I'm getting goosebumps as I talk about it. I swear, I welled up in tears. I was like, wow. If she can come to 5 a.m. worship on Easter Sunday morning, this woman believes in the resurrection of Jesus. She wants to be and reenact what that must have been like, which is why I feel so compelled to have it like that, because if Jesus could get up on that morning, I should be able to get up at least once a year to do that, and worship and bless the Lord for rising up for me. And seeing you do that and knowing that it's not easy for you. You have one part of your body doesn't work like the other part, but you make do, and you say that's okay, and you still have joy, you still have a smile like you have right now. You continue to press on, and you have awesome family here at St. Paul, like Reverend Smith, and so many others who help in ways that are important.
Yes.
And that God has blessed you in spite of. Amen. Amen.
I think Guyana it's a prayerful country. Yeah, they pray a lot, and I grew up like that. Like as a child growing up, at night before you go to bed, you have to read a scripture and you sing a song before you go to bed. You get up in the morning, you say good morning, do you have to next day the same thing. So I grew up in that spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm.
And on Sunday, I go to Sunday school, 9 o'clock, then 11 o'clock church, And then 3 o'clock, whatever they have. So Sunday on the whole is not a day to skylark, as we call it. But, you know, Sunday is a time for worshiping God and to know who He is and to acknowledge Him. They keep telling you, acknowledge God, who God is. So this is something I grew up in. I grew up in a church. I have to go to church. I have to be in church. Sometimes I say, Lord, I'm tired. I gotta sing again. I gotta sing again tonight.
Yes, sometimes I get tired of it, but
I said, no, find some song. I don't care what song. Find a song that resonates really what you want. Just sing a song, sing something.
Music is important. Well,
Yes.
Thank you again.
Yes.
And we're going to sign off. Thank you, Brother Roderick, and thank you, Brother Eddie. Thank you, Reverend Smith. And thank you, family, for taking a moment to listen to Mama's story and her witness. And thank you, Mama, for sharing.
You're welcome.
God bless you. We're gonna log off, and we're gonna kind of edit all of this as we continue on. The struggle is real, and the struggle
Yes, it
continues.
is.
You say yes, it is.
So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.